Welcome. I'm Sue from createwithsue.com, and today we are going to be looking at how to change the jacket on the left to look like the jacket on the right using heat transfer vinyl. And there's a bit of a story about this. However, I'll go into that a little bit as we go forward into the video. Basically, I'm going to remove the lettering in yellow and replace it, and then I'll also show you a number of tricks on how to do offset the letters and hide all the changes. So I'm going to measure the jacket lettering first, so I've got a rough idea of the sizing, because once we remove the vinyl, which I'm about to do now, I'm just using a bit of baking paper or parchment paper, whatever, just so you don't get it on your heat press. This is my little HTVRont hand press, a mini press. You press it 3 times and you can get it up to the temperature. I've got 3 settings, and now it's green. Once it's heated up, it's green, so we can use it. And we're just going to heat the lettering so it comes loose. Now, before we even start, I'm going to tell you this is so tedious. So tedious. However, as I move forward, I'm going to speed this up for you. As I move forward, it got easier and easier. I used my nail. However, you could use some sort of scraper. I tried tweezers. They weren't very successful at all. And I found that if I move from the sides of the lettering, heated the vinyl up and removed them from the side, that it eventually did come off okay. And I've sped this video up a lot, believe me. Definitely sped up a lot. But it was actually a lot quicker at the end, because I worked out how much time to put my press down for and basically how long I could peel for before I had to reheat it. I'm just about at the end of that, and I will start a tutorial on how to create to cover it. Because we've got stickies left, we need to cover that. So I've measured that, and I'm just creating a box here in the downloaded version of Canvas Workspace. You can do it in either version. So the sizing of the box is the measurements. Now, I don't actually have to have a box. I just thought it might make it a little bit easier for you to get a visual view of the letters. You can change your settings to inches or centimetres. So I've put the measurements of the actual wording that's originally there, because I have to cover that leftover glue. So that's one goal we have, is to cover the glue. Right, so put the box here and get the measurements so it's about the right size. So I've got a bit of a guide. And next I'm going to create some letterings, and then I'm going to create an offset. So that will actually hide the glue a little bit better. So you can type in the exact measurements you want. You can, to get different measurements, like the box out of square, you need to remove that maintain aspect ratio tick box. And we're going to type the letters. So the name is Hodgetts, and I'm going to do it in capitals because my friend particularly wants it a particular way, so we'll do it exactly how she wants. And we will make that lettering a similar size to the box that we've created. That's just a template. We'll get rid of that in a moment. Now the story is, you can just adjust the sizing. The story is that she got this jacket, which was a bit small for someone else, and her daughter, it fits her daughter for netball, and she was very pleased to get it. Of course, it had the wrong name on, so here we go. She's asked me to fix it for her. So you just fiddle around with that a little bit so it's about the right size, and you can actually, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than this box, I think. So we've matched up the vinyl as close as we can to the jacket, and also the yellow lettering to the original jacket. because there's a huge eagle on there as well that matches up. So we'll keep the lettering the same colour as the eagle and how it was originally intended. So I'm just really fiddling around. You move that maintain aspect ratio when you want to change things. Sometimes using the actual measurements is the best way to go. I'm going to go bigger than the box. As I said, bigger is okay, just not too big obviously. Just it's a matter of aesthetics. We'll get rid of that box. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with that lettering. It looks very similar to the one that's originally on there. It's not quite the same font, but she won't be that fussed. And I am going to put an offset around that in a moment when I've finished fiddling with the sizing. If you're doing a different project, you would obviously just work out your own measurements and create the wording to the size that suits your project. So once you're happy with the wording, I fiddled around with this a little bit because I wanted it just right, obviously. Scroll down and we're going to put an offset around that. So select the offset and then you can choose whether you want it inward, outward, what size offset. I only want a small one really. And whether you want it round or square, so I'm going to leave it round. And then you can remove that checkbox to have it so it pulls the inside of the letters as well as the outside. I'm going to remove that checkbox for the moment and then think about how it looks. Now, if I didn't have to cover that glue, I'd actually like it just as it is. But I need to get rid of the little pieces in the middle. And also, I really like that way it goes up around the T and up to the S and that. However, I can't risk the fact that might not hide the glue. So I'm just going to change the offset just a smidgy. Nope, that's going to be too big. I don't want that. Thought it may have been a bit better with a bit bigger offset, but it's not. So we're just going to modify that. Just go back, get rid of that. So you can check things like that out, and we are going to, you can see that's the text. If you can't grab it when you go to grab it, you can go into your layers panel and grab the individual pieces. I'm going to double click this and bring up the nodes, and I'm going to move all the inside nodes by just hitting the delete key. Whoops, not that key. The delete key. And I'm also going to straighten the bottom because, well, firstly, the areas that have gone around the areas of the T and the S, I can't leave like that because it will risk showing the glue. I'll just highlight these, so bring up the nodes and just highlight the nodes that you don't want and hit the delete key. And then highlight these ones and delete, and these ones and delete. Now my next problem is I don't really want that loopy bit at the bottom. As I said, if it wasn't for the fact that I had to hide the glue, I would quite like it. Was colour this blue so we can see it, and we'll colour this yellow. So it's looking a bit like this is using the design features of Canvas Workspace. And you can see that that's gone underneath where I don't want it. So you can just go into the layers panel and swap it around. So I've just brought the text to the top. And I actually like it looking like that on a bit of a stagger. However, that's not what my friend has asked. That's got a very like a shadowy effect. So you don't have to have your offsets dead center, but in this instance we are going to. So we're going to select them both and just align them so that we see what it's going to look like. Center and middle in the edit panel, and that's pretty much how we're going to have it set. I did like it with that shadow, but never mind. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove some of the little pieces that jut up, because I'm just worried about that glue. I'm just going to give it a bit of a removal of some of that design. Same deal, I'm just going to grab some nodes and remove them to about there and just delete them. And that's not quite straight, so those nodes are in alignment. That's okay, you can just adjust them down. And I can add another node in just at the top there if I want it a bit pointier again. I think I am just going to have it straight though. I'll just zoom it out so you can see it a bit better again. So what I'm going to do is put a oblong shape along the bottom so they go across evenly, because that adjusting the nodes is not getting it as smooth as I want. So I'm just going to create a shape to basically change the bottom. That's kind of about there. And what I'm going to do is move that all the way along so that it will line up. So I'll bring that box down, that narrow box down into position about where I'm going to do it, and then I'm just going to stretch it along the whole distance. So we've got an even bottom, a bit more even bottom. Seems like a better option than to do them all individually. So I stretch it out. Let's see if I can make this so you can see it all. And stretch it the other way as well. It's going to be fairly even. So you can just see the box sitting over the top there. Those little uneven pieces. You could make a very flat bottom. I didn't want it quite flat. I just wanted to not have it too curvy. So you can see it's going to chop off a lot of those little points. And what we're going to do is select both of them. Go back to choose your select tool and select the top box. Hold your shift key down and select the bottom. You can do it in the layers panel as well. If you can't grab it, just over here, select the shape and not the text. So the control key, you can select the shape and skip the text and just weld them together. And we're going to use our weld function in the edit panel, and it's done. Now it's taken the colour out, so that's okay. Just zoom back out. We'll just pop the colour back in. Colour's really only so we can make it easier for us to see what we're doing. Pop some colour back in. Of course it's shuffled it back to the top because it was the last one used. Put it to the bottom. And oh, it looks good off centre again, doesn't it? But we're going to be putting it dead straight. Probably if I asked her, she'd say, oh, there, that's fine. But we'll just do it. So we go back to the alignment tool. This is really just for aesthetics, to see what it's going to look like. Because this alignment, we won't obviously send our cut file to the machine and cut it like this. We'll cut it into separate pieces, and we'll go over to the cutting machine and do that in a moment. I think that I'm fairly happy with that. Pull it apart, and we will now go into the layers panel, and we're going to hide one. Hide the text because we'll do the background first. Send it to the machine. So open the file, export FCM. It's just telling me that there is some hidden shapes. That's okay. We know that. And I'm going to send it by Wi-Fi. I have tutorials on how to do some of these steps if you need a bit more instruction on the steps. So check my channel for them. So I'm going to save that file just because I want to keep this particular design in case I muck it up. Or I need to do it again. So check my channel for more videos, or my website, createwithsue.com. You would give your file a name. I'm just going to call it that, just in case you ask me for something more. And we will send this over to the machine to cut out. So once I've cut it out, I'll come back in here and I'll go over here and swap that around so we've hidden the blue, and I'll send this one to the machine. Now I'll do that in a moment because I'm going to go and cut it out. It'll give you the same warning. So I'll see you over at the machine. We'll cut the blue offset out. Okay, so we're at the machine and I sent it over via Wi-Fi. It's just going to retrieve that offset. There it is. Doesn't send any colour. Load your mat and your vinyl. I've stuck my vinyl down with some painter's tape just to give it a bit more hold against the mat. For heat transfer vinyl or HTV, you place the shiny side to the mat and you need to mirror, which I've just realised I have not done. So I am going to mirror on the machine. Ideally, probably mirroring in Canvas Workspace was a good way of making sure you don't forget to mirror. However, I forgot that step talking to you. And so we'll do it on the machine. It's just as easy on the machine. It's just a bit of a worry that you might forget to do. So you have to do both pieces, both the offset and the name. And we'll go into the edit panel, into the edit icon, object edit, and we're just going to flip or mirror. We'll go OK and OK, and now we'll scan the mat. Okay, so it's scanned the mat. You can see that I've got a little bit of tape there. Now I don't want it quite down there. Right, just move it up to the top part of your materials that are on your mat, so you're not wasting too much material. In this case, vinyl. And select cut. And I'm going to use the half cut, which you go into your tools to change it, into turn on the half cut, scroll down, turn it on. Just going to leave that. Oh, I'm going to put a weeding box and go OK. Okay, so we need to, that's just saying that there's not enough room for the weeding box. So we'll go back and we'll just move that out a little bit and go again and select cut and back into the tools and scroll down and choose on. And you can adjust your weeding box size just by the plus and the minus if you don't want as big a weeding box. 3 mils not very much, so we'll just leave it at 3, the default, and go OK. Let's pop the weeding box around this time. So there just wasn't enough room to the edge of the mat to put that weeding box. And we'll pop a test cut on. So I haven't tried this vinyl before. This is HTVRont vinyl, and this particular vinyl I haven't used. I've got quite a bit of HTVRont. Oops, and I've knocked the camera again. Sorry, I'll just speed this up while I adjust my camera. And we'll just check it. I'll use my little weeding tool to get the triangle out. So we're good to go. So we'll press start and I'll speed this bit of video up again. Alright, it's finished cutting. So go OK. And we'll just try and get you down to look at the mat. It's a bit hard to see the cut pieces. But what I'll do is I will check it before I take it off the mat. So I'm going to leave it on the mat to weed this and just make sure that it's cut through properly. So I could, now I know it's cut through okay, I could take this off the mat and finish weeding, which would be much easier. However, my camera's set up for the mat now, so we'll just persevere. I actually rather like weeding because I like it. See how it pulls out different pieces? I like it. So I've got a little bit of a hook up there. We'll work that out in a minute. So we'll take it off the mat and cut the weeding box section out. So I've just got the weeded area. Okay, so when you've got your vinyl, make sure you read the instructions on time and temperature and whether it is cold or hot peel. So this particular one has got the time and temperature, so it's about 12 to 15 seconds, and it is a cold peel or cool peel on this one. Keep this paperwork with your vinyl if you get anything like this, or if you just have a piece of paper and instructions and you lose that, write it on the back of the vinyl in like a felt tip pen, like a Sharpie or something. I'm going to use, this is heat proof tape, the blue. I'm not going to use that yellow. That yellow sometimes marks. So I'm going to use the clear, it's a PYD Life one, that one, but there's a lot of brands. Just the blue clear, the Cricket make one, it's a bit dearer. HTVRont make one, PYD Life make one. It's a few brands. Anyway, I'm just going to heat my press up and press. So this one's got an auto setting of that particular temperature, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use quite as much time as it says, because this is the lower layer and I don't need to put all the time and temperature, all the time on this first layer. I just need it to be enough to get the carrier sheet off so I can put the wording on, and then it will give it a big press. I must have a bit of dust on my Teflon mat. Good on me. I live in a very dusty area. It's a rural area, so everything gets dust on it. Doesn't take much either. So I'm just pulling the drawer out. So it's a bit hot to peel at the moment still. I'm just waiting for it to cool down a little bit. You can see the blue heat tape that I've just held it down with. Now the carrier sheet usually is a bit sticky anyway. Not much carrier sheet on this one because I've used a fairly frugal cut on that vinyl. So I've left myself quite a bit on the HTV, so I haven't wasted any. So a bit of extra help to hold it in place as I'm lining it up. Doesn't go astray. Now I'm still just waiting for it to cool a bit. And hopefully the cold peel was pressed enough for the cold peel to just peel off. If not, we'll just put it under the press again and give it a little bit more time and go again. So I'll speed this up as well. Alright, it's cool enough to touch. Now we'll just get that tape up. It seems to be lifting okay, and that's a pretty good match, so that's good. So just gently peel back. I hold it normally fairly flat against itself so it doesn't sort of lift up as much. Everyone's got their own technique for doing things so. And that looks pretty good. There's a little tiny piece of glue I missed. You won't be able to see it from where you are. There's just one little tiny piece of the previous lettering that's got a bit of glue. I think that won't matter. Such a minute amount. Alright, next up we have to cut out the lettering, the Hodgett's lettering, and pop that on as well. Okay, so here's the wording weeded, cut out and weeded. Thankfully I remembered to mirror it or flip it. Line it up with the offset in the blue, so it looks pretty good. You can hardly see the offset. Now there was a tiny little piece not quite right there, and make sure you haven't got any bits, extra bits stuck to anything, because that the carrier sheet is actually quite sticky and pieces stick against it. And there was a little piece there I struggled to get off, I think. If you have any pieces that don't come off properly, you can always get your X-Acto knife out and just help them along. I'm going to stick it back down with some more heat-proof tape. This is heat-proof tape, not normal sticky tape. And position it so it's on your heat press. Let's heat my press back up again. It's got a bit cold, sort of clicked off while I was working. Make sure you're happy with it. And you can either use baking paper or I've got Teflon sheets. I sometimes use, for my sublimation I use baking paper because it gets the sublimation gases leak on it. It's not good for the Teflon, but for HTV I usually use my Teflon sheets. It doesn't matter if you've only got baking paper, or I think it's called parchment in many countries. It's perfectly fine. And we'll press it in for the full time this time. Just make sure everything's lined up and not crinkling. And it's about 15 seconds I'm heating it for. And it's still hot, so it's still a cold peel. Need to wait till it cools down. I might peel it off when it's cold enough. So only just, but that's okay. It's coming off okay. Now I'm going to press this again for another 15 seconds, just to make sure everything's pressed down nice and firmly. Okay, we're done. You could do it for longer if you still didn't think your vinyl had adhered properly. Well, I think it has. There's the finished writing. Trying to get a good close-up. Hardly tell that there is an offset that matched up pretty well. And I'm fairly sure that my friend will be happy with it. I think the colour matches are pretty good with the original eagle. That's okay, I'm pretty happy with that because it's a good match. And you can hardly notice the blue offset. It's covered all the sticky. And we've gone from this to that. Catch you next time.